I'm Dell now, back with Big Band Sounds. Having completed the Time Life recaps last week, I promised we'd salute the man who was responsible for the major part of those recreations, who devoted so much time to their accuracy and quality. So tonight, we give the entire program over to the music and ideas of Billy May. Arrangement Billy May first set down on record in November 1955 for an album called Sorta Dixie. And to my mind, it nutshells the happy, freewheeling attitude of the man to his music. It was also one of his arrangements that he chose to recreate for the Time Life series. And actually for that series, it was obligatory for him to recall the first recording that placed him on the map as a band leader in his own right in June 1951, All of Me. result of the original recording of All of Me and others in a similar style, which Billy May arranged for an album of Arthur Murray dancing favourites, he was in demand to take his music live to audiences all over America. So he set out on tour, and of course he was no stranger to the rigours of one-night stands. He'd served his apprenticeship in the heyday of the big bands. But what paths led him to those years? Well, he was born in Pittsburgh in November the 10th, 1916, and at the age of 8 began lessons on the piano, but showed absolutely no talent nor interest whatsoever, even after 2 years, or perhaps because of 2 years at 25 cents a lesson. In high school, though, that changed. To fill in a free period, he took up the tuba, learned the intricacies of that massive coil of brassware, and joined the school's marching band. By the time he was 14, and it was now the 1930s, the tuba in dance bands was a disappearing instrument, being replaced by the double bass. Stringed instruments and Billy May were not compatible, so he took up the trombone and joined a local band led by one Lee Rivers. And Billy's horizons were widening. He was discovering the art of arranging and the range and scope of all the orchestral instruments. In 1936, he ventured further afield to Syracuse to join the Jack Mason Orchestra and got paid for arranging. Then on to other bands, a 4 months engagement in Florida with Etsy Covato, and then Baron Elliott, a Mickey Mouse band where Billy May began enlarging his instrumental prowess, playing not only trombone but trumpet. As the story goes, in 1938, Charlie Barnet brought his band to Pittsburgh, and Billy was knocked out and asked if Barnet could use an arrangement from him. Overnight, he wrote one, and when the Barnet band tried it out, they were knocked out. Barnet commissioned 10 arrangements at $5 each, and departed with manuscripts in hand, but without paying. Months later, Billy wrote to Barnet in New York asking for his money. "Come and get it," replied Charlie. Billy did, and signed on with the band at $70 a week, solely as an arranger. But bands were expanding. 4, not 3 trumpets were becoming the order of the day, so Billy unpacked his horn and became 4th man in the section, while writing some of Barnet's most lasting arrangements, not least the one that Barnet adopted as his signature tune. Cherokee, and one of Big Bandham's most memorable arrangements. And so is this Billy May score for Barnet, recorded a year later in July 1940, on which the leader's soprano sax is amusingly counterpointed with Billy May's trumpet, Pompton Turnpike. Not many months after that recording of Pompton Turnpike, Billy May departed from the Barnet Band, but before we leave that segment of his career, I think we should listen to one example of his already highly developed sense of musical humour. After a succession of Barnet recordings with titles like The Duke's Idea, The Count's Idea, and The Right Idea, Billy May came up with a bit of nonsense called The Wrong Idea, where his previous experience with Baron Elliott stood him in good stead. It was a takeoff of the Mickey Mousers, and Billy May himself was the vocalist.
And now, folks, old Slappy Habit's coming up here to sing one for you all. Come on up here, Slappy.
Listen, folks throughout the land, when you hear this kind of band, we don't think that they're so grand, 'cause this is the wrong idea. The kind of band on which we frown is this kind 'cause they bring you down. They think they're hot 'cause they go to town. This is the wrong idea. Don't play it good, just play it cute and make it root-toot-toot-toot. Doesn't do any good to get hep, so swing and sweat with Charlie Barnet. Many ideas will come and go, but this is one thing you ought to know, that this kind of stuff is going to go. This is the wrong idea.
It still gives me a giggle, that record. The wrong idea. In October 1940, Billy May was approached to change jobs at more than twice the money he was getting with Barnet. That's an offer he couldn't refuse. His new boss was Glenn Miller. After the free and easy atmosphere of the Barnet band, Billy was, to say the least, taken aback by Miller's discipline. But it was a prestigious job, and both Miller and May benefited. Miller's demand for precision and perfection had its effect on May's outlook, and in return, Miller discovered the amazing range of Billy's talent and featured him as a jazz trumpet soloist, and his arrangements became milestones in the Miller library. Ida, Long Tall Mama, Daisy May, those are just three, many others, including this standout, air-checked in December 1941, which Miller introduces.
Tex and the Modernaires salute the Butler Bulldogs with a swell new tune, Blues in the Night.
Sweet talk and give you the big eye.
But when the sweet talking's done,
a woman's a two-faced, a worrisome thing who'll leave you to sing the blues in the night. Now the rains are falling, hear the train a calling, hooey. My mama done told me, hear that lonesome whistle blowing across the trestle, hooey. My mama done told me, ahoy, hooey. Oh, Take like a echoing back the blues in the night.
The evening breeze will start the trees to crying, and the moon will hide its light.
When you get the blues in the night. The mockingbird will sing the saddest kind of song. He knows things are wrong, and he's right. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee. From Natchez to Mobile, from Memphis to St. Joe, wherever the four winds blow. I've been to some big towns,
Yeah.
Then heard me some big talk.
But there is one thing I know. A man is a two-faced,
A worrisome thing who'll leave you to sing the blues in the night. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee.
my mama was right.
There's blues in the night.
When Glenn Miller went into the Army Air Force in late 1942, Billy May thankfully turned in other directions, as we're just about to do now, because Tim Gudgeon upstairs has a gale warning, I believe.
Thanks, Alan. Yes, a bit of a case of blows in the night. Attention all shipping, especially in sea areas Forties, Dogger, Humber. The Met Office issued the following gale warning to shipping at 2000 BST today. Forties, Dogger, southerly gales, force 8 imminent. Humber, southwesterly gales, force 8 imminent. Well, that's it. Let's get back to that Billy May story with Alan Dell.
Thank you very much, Tim. As I was saying, when Miller went into the Army Air Force in 1942, Billy May turned elsewhere, filling in with NBC studio bands and writing arrangements for Alvina Ray's orchestra while awaiting his call-up. In the event, he was rejected because of a childhood bout of TB, and he went to work seriously for Alvina Ray. But this was 1943 when President of the Musicians' Union, James Petrillo, had imposed a recording ban, and none of May's work for Alvina Ray became commercially available. However, in 1946-47, his writings were still very much a part of Ray's repertoire, and so happily we can listen to this excellent band of that time, with musicians like pianist Rocky Coluccio, Tasso Harris on trombone, and Herbie Stewart on tenor sax, soloing in this May arrangement of The Sheik of Araby. was through Alvina Ray's brother-in-law, Jim Conkling, a vice president of a newly emerging record company, that Billy May was introduced to Capitol Records and began arranging for vocalists. He was also on the Harriet Nelson radio shows, adding his imagination to musical bridges for situation comedy, yet another facet which provided the key to his work on a series of children's albums that included famous Tweety Pie and Sylvester. Capitol had Billy May going in all directions, eventually into Latin American mambos, which led the way to his Arthur Murray album, and the now immediately recognizable style of the slurpy saxes. There is no greater love, but one of Billy May's earlier big band recordings under his own name. And there are so many more very memorable examples of his work at that time. One always recalls his version of Mad About the Boy. Less often, but equally as good, his slightly irreverent view of Rosemary. passage of time, the orchestral sound was enlarged with additional woodwinds and extra percussion, culminating in those two classic collections, Salter May and Salter Dixie, in 1954 and 55. As we've already heard an example from the latter in Recreation, let's listen to a showstopper from the former in the original performance, In a Persian Market. Persian market will never be the same again. In amongst all his orchestral extravaganzas, Billy May was also, as I said, being called on to write accompaniments for singers. And for someone who couldn't get on with stringed instruments, he showed a marked ability with them for ballads. With the advent of stereo, his canvas was further enlarged, even though in this fairly early stereo accompaniment for Ella Fitzgerald, its potential was not yet fully realized.
close together, wait and see. Oh, by the way, this time the dream's on me. You take my hand and you look at me adoringly, but as things stand, this time the dream's on me. It would be fun to be certain that I'm the one, to know that I at least supply the shoulder you cry upon, to see you through till you're everything you want to be. It can't be true, but this time the dream's on me. It would be fun to be certain that I'm the one, to know that I at least supply the shoulder you cry upon, to see till you're everything you want to be. It can't be true, but this time the dream's on me. This time the dreams are on me. This time the dreams on me.
Billy May and Strings for Ella Fitzgerald. In contrast, as a former tuba, trombonist, trumpeter, he was altogether at home making that all-brass album in 1958, employing some of the greatest names that still abound on America's West Coast. From it, Ping Pong. Going back to the subject of vocalists for whom Billy May has written accompaniments, well, that's almost a separate chapter in his career and could easily fill another entire program. Well, just remember some of the superstars he's worked with. Sinatra, Peggy Lee, Mel Torme, Nancy Wilson, Vic Damone. They don't come any better. But as we have limited space here, I'd like to take just one excerpt from one LP that absolutely gassed me when it first appeared, and I think I had the pleasure of giving it its first airing in Britain. And what's more, it's entirely appropriate as the two stars are gracing our Palladium stage right at this moment. Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney with Mr. May.
When a girl meets boy, life can be a joy.
But the note they end on will depend on little pleasures they will share. So let us compare. I like New York in June. How about you?
I like a Gershwin tune. How about you?
I love a fireside when a storm is due.
I like potato chips, moonlight motor trips. How about you?
Till I get my hat, I'm mad about good books. Can't get my fill.
And Frank Sinatra's looks give me a thrill.
Have to stand in line, holding hands in a movie show when all the lights are low. May not be new, but I like it. How about you?
I've seen Pal Joey twice. How about you?
Caught it, loved it. And think Kim Novak's very nice. Yes. What else is new?
I love a baseball game played beneath the lights.
I love the Pirates, find them a favorite nine, daytime or nights.
Stockholder,
How'd you know?
that Marlon Brando's smile makes me feel tall.
Helps you, huh? Well, I tell you, Bob Hope now, he's more my style.
Really?
Hokey nose and all, he's stuck with it. This whole world's in a sorry way, that's what the papers say. It may be true,
long as those stars still shine.
long as your love is mine. I like it fine. How about you?
Long as you kiss so well.
Long as you cast that spell, I think it's swell. How about you? Long as the birds still mate, may we reiterate, we think it's great. How about you?
Still a marvellous album, Crosby and Clooney with The Happy Fat Man. Well, I sit here in this studio and I'm surrounded with all sorts of other Billy May albums which I would love to have included in this small tribute to his genius, and I don't use that word lightly, his genius as an arranger. But we have space for only one more tour de force, and I've been asked if I'd include something from the Shall We Swing album, recorded by Glenn Gray's Carzaloma Orchestra, for which Billy May wrote all the arrangements. And indeed, this is a tour de force, von Suppé's Poet and Peasant Overture. and pleasant. Billy May with that special sparkle in his musical eye. May it never be dimmed. To play us out, we have his own composition, Lean Baby, which could by no stretch of the imagination be a self-description. Billy May's music is as broad and ebullient as he is, and has been the delight of millions for many a year. Let's wish him a happy birthday for next month, and hope that he'll delight us yet with many more happy sounds. After the news, Humphrey Littleton, and I'll look forward to being with you again next Monday. Till then, Alan Dell saying bye-bye.